You ever wondered what really happens when you stop texting her? Not the fantasy in your head, not the ego-soothing theories. I'm talking about what she actually does, psychologically, emotionally, even physically, when you go quiet. Because here's the truth, most men miss. Silence doesn't just end the conversation, it starts a reaction. And if you've ever pulled back only to feel her energy shift, like she suddenly notices, suddenly reacts, suddenly shows up again, it's not random, it's not luck, it's predictable. Today, I'm breaking it all down. What she thinks, what she feels but won't say, and what she'll absolutely do when you stop giving her that easy access to your energy. This video isn't for the guy who still begs for closure. It's for the man who's ready to understand power, pull back with purpose, and watch her react without saying a word. So, if that's you, make sure you subscribe right now, and if you're ready to step into a deeper level of control, consider joining the Stoic Brotherhood. Because after this, you'll never chase the same way again. Let's begin. Number 1. She'll test your silence first. The first thing she'll do when you stop contacting her, she'll test it. Not because she's evil, not because she hates you, because that's how attraction works, especially when it's disrupted. Silence isn't passive, it's active. It creates tension, and tension that demands a reaction. She might not even realize she's doing it at first. It could be a small accidental like on your post, a "you up" text at 11:47 p.m. A meme she knows will remind you of some inside joke. It's not innocent, it's not random, it's a probe. She's checking the temperature. She wants to know, is he still there, still waiting, still orbiting around me like before? And here's the mistake most men make. They take that little breadcrumb and run with it. They treat her test as an invitation. They text back fast. They over-explain. They restart the chase. And just like that, the power flips back. You've shown her you're still emotionally available, without her doing anything real to earn it. Let's be clear, she's not bad for testing you. She's just trying to see where you stand. It's instinct. It's human. But what you do in that moment, that's what matters. You can't just say you're pulling back. You have to live the silence. You have to own the distance. You have to let her discomfort build, because in that discomfort she starts to feel your absence for real. And here's where the Stoic mindset comes in. A Stoic man doesn't react to the first knock on the door. He doesn't answer every call from the past. He sits with the silence and lets others feel it too. Seneca said, "If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable." Translation: if your goal is clarity, don't let a random ping from her blow you off course. Because trust me, if your silence means anything, she will try to break it. Not always with drama. Sometimes it's subtle, strategic, soft, but it's still a test. She wants to see if you're really different now, if you've really stepped into strength, or if this is just another tactic to win her back. And when you respond too soon, you fail that test. You confirm that your silence wasn't power, it was manipulation. But if you hold the line, if you stay grounded, calm and unbothered, you send a message louder than any paragraph. I'm not reacting to crumbs. I'm not biting the bait. If you want connection again, it'll take more than curiosity. Now, I know this is hard. You'll feel the itch to reply, to just say something, to prove you're not playing games. But that's exactly what makes you forgettable. The man who always replies is the man who always loses the frame. So let me ask you straight, have you ever fallen for the first breadcrumb she dropped? The first soft message, the first random story view? If you've done that even once, drop this in the comments right now. I've failed the test. Say it, own it, grow from it. Because this time, it's different. This time you're not just pulling back, you're building presence. discipline, calm. So when she tests your silence, you're ready. You don't panic, you don't chase, you don't explain. You hold. And in that stillness, she'll feel something deeper than attention. She'll feel respect. You've just taken your first real step into power. But don't stop now. The game changes from here, and how you handle what comes next. That's where most men break. You won't, because you're still here, and you're just getting started. Number 2, she'll try to regain control. Let's make something very clear. When you stop contacting her, she doesn't just sit there quietly wondering. Not for long. After the first wave of silence sinks in, and she realizes you're not chasing, not reacting, not begging. That's when the real instinct kicks in. She'll try to regain control. It might not look like control at first. It could come wrapped in softness, nostalgia, or a just checking in tone. But don't get it twisted, this isn't vulnerability. It's a power move. She might remind you of a memory you shared, send you a throwback picture, even pretend to accidentally like something old on your feed. It's all bait, carefully placed. Because right now her subconscious is screaming, why am I not the center of his attention anymore? And the ego can't stand that silence. So what does she do? She reaches for the steering wheel, not to reconnect, to reset the balance. See, before you went silent, she felt in control of the rhythm. She knew what to expect. She had your attention on standby. Even if she didn't act on it, she felt safe knowing it was there. But when that disappears, when your silence holds firm, she starts to feel the ground shift, and she'll do whatever she can to level it again. Here's where most guys mess up. They misread the message. They think she misses me. She's realized I matter. She's ready to be serious now. No, brother. She's not trying to rebuild. She's trying to regain control. Big difference. Because if you bite too fast, if you jump at her message, shift your tone, drop your guard, you hand it all back. You teach her that your power is conditional, that all it takes is a soft touch to undo your discipline. This isn't about being cold, it's about being conscious. You can still be kind, still be present, still be calm, but you don't fold, you don't chase, you don't fall back into the old rhythm. Why? Because the man she respects isn't the one who flinches, it's the one who holds his ground, even when the past comes calling, dressed like comfort. Let's bring in some Stoic perspective. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." That's what this is, a test of internal control. You don't control how she reacts. You don't control what she sends. You only control your frame. And your frame says, I'm not here to play roles. I'm here to live in truth. If you want connection, it won't be through manipulation. It'll be through clarity. Now let's go deeper. Sometimes her attempt to regain control might look like anger. She'll accuse you of being distant or call you cold or say you've changed. That's not emotion. That's leverage. Because when emotional pressure doesn't work, she'll try guilt. And when guilt doesn't work, she'll try shame. And when shame doesn't work, that's when the silence gets real. That's when the test ends and the respect begins. So let me ask you straight. Have you ever fallen for that shift in tone? Have you ever broken your silence because she seemed different for a moment? If yes, drop this in the comments. She took the wheel. No shame, just growth. Because next time you won't. Next time you'll feel the pull, see the play, and stay grounded anyway. This is how you flip the story. This is how you become the one who sets the rhythm, not follows it. And when she senses that, when she realizes her old patterns don't shake you anymore, that's when she starts to shift not just her tone but her respect. You've just passed the second stage of this game. But what comes next? That's where her real emotions begin to surface. Stay sharp. Stay centered. You're not done yet. Number 3. Her curiosity will turn emotional. At first, your silence is just confusing. She notices you're quiet. You're not texting, you're not reacting. But she doesn't panic. Not yet. In the beginning, it's just curiosity. She might think, is he just busy? Is he playing some game? Is he trying to get a reaction? She might even convince herself she doesn't care. But here's the turning point when silence stretches, when no reaction comes, and she's still left wondering. That curiosity, it starts to feel like something, and that something is emotional. See, women don't fall for men based on words. They fall for feelings. And the strongest feelings don't come from sweet messages or daily check-ins. They come from absence, from wondering, from not knowing, from needing to guess, from realizing that access is no longer guaranteed. She starts thinking, why am I thinking about him this much? Why do I feel irritated that he hasn't reached out? And most of all, did I misread everything? That last question is key, because now you've flipped the frame. She's no longer evaluating you. She's evaluating herself. She's no longer certain of where she stands. She's no longer sure you're still reachable. And that space, the emotional tension, is what starts to shift everything. Let's break this down deeper. Curiosity is mental. It's safe. But emotion is physical. It feels like a knot in the stomach, like an itch she can't scratch, like a voice in her head that won't shut up even when she tells herself to just move on. You didn't yell, you didn't beg, you didn't post cryptic quotes or force a reaction. You just held your silence. And in that silence, her imagination came alive. That's what makes it powerful. Because when a woman imagines, she starts to fill in blanks. And often her mind paints you in a stronger, more mysterious, more attractive light than reality ever could. You're not just the guy who used to text her. You become the man who could have anyone now. The man who might have changed. The man who maybe was the one. And that realization doesn't just trigger curiosity anymore. It triggers fear. The fear that she might have misplayed her hand. The fear that your silence isn't about punishment, but evolution. And that's what stings the most. Because if you're not contacting her because you're better now, not bitter, not angry, not pretending, but truly thriving, then she's no longer the one who ended things. You are. Let me say that again. When your silence is rooted in power and peace, you become the one who walked away. Even if technically she was the first to leave. And she'll feel that. She'll feel it every time she checks your profile. Every time she doesn't hear from you. Every time someone else asks her, hey, what happened with him? You're not gone. You're just out of reach. And that shift from available to unavailable, it doesn't just change the game. It redefines how she remembers you. Now, I want you to check yourself real quick. Have you ever ended up texting someone just because you wanted to satisfy your own curiosity? Or worse, just to see if they'd still reply? If that's ever been you, drop this in the comments. Curiosity killed my power. Because this time, you're on the other side. You're not the one reaching. You're not the one guessing. You're not the one drowning in thoughts. You're calm. You're centered. You're silent with purpose. And that silence, it's starting to echo inside her. Not just as a question, but as a feeling. You've just triggered a new stage in this dynamic. You're not just someone she once talked to. You're someone she can't stop thinking about without even saying a word. But don't lose focus now. You've stirred the emotional waters. Next, you're going to watch her act on them. Keep your edge. Stay right here. Number 4. She'll monitor you in silence. At this stage, she's not talking. She's not texting. She's not asking how you're doing. But don't be fooled by the silence she's watching. Women don't need to ask where you are. They already know. Not because they're obsessive, because they're instinctively aware of energy patterns. And when yours suddenly pulls away, the natural reaction is to observe quietly. She won't like your posts, she won't comment. But the views, they'll spike. That random story you posted about your morning coffee, yeah, she saw it. And she played it twice. Here's why. When you stop reaching out, she doesn't stop caring, she just shifts strategy. And the strategy now, data collection. She's looking for confirmation. Confirmation that you're not over her. Confirmation that you're struggling without her. Confirmation that she still matters. So what does she do? She checks your activity, your tone online, your interactions with others. She reads between every line, every emoji, every moment of silence, searching for clues. This is where a lot of guys lose it. They think, oh, she saw my story, she must want me back. Then they reach out. They say too much. They break the silence, and the mystery vanishes. Don't do that. Understand, her monitoring is not connection, it's control. She's trying to see if she still affects you, without risking vulnerability. She wants the information without the exposure. But here's the shift. You don't use this moment to respond, you use it to transform. The version of you she's watching right now, that's your chance to show evolution. Not perform it, not fake it, live it. This is where stoicism becomes real. You don't post to make her jealous. You don't flex to prove you're better. You move in alignment, you build, you grow. And when she sees that you're calm, content, focused, not chasing, not performing, that silence she's hiding in, it gets uncomfortable, because now she's the one in the unknown. That's what monitoring really means. I want to know where you are because I no longer control the story. You've gone from being predictable to being intriguing. And trust me, intrigue creates gravity. But be careful here. Don't get addicted to the views. Don't check who's watching. Don't shape your actions around her reactions. That's still giving her power. Instead, shift the focus. What would you post if no one was watching? What would you pursue if she didn't exist? Do that, not for her, for you. Because here's the paradox. The more you focus on becoming, the more she watches. And the more she watches, the more she feels that gap growing. Eventually the silence becomes unbearable, not for you, for her. And that's when things start to flip. So I'll ask you straight, have you ever posted something just to get a reaction from someone? Be honest. If you have, drop this in the comments. I was performing. Owning it is step 1. Reclaiming your energy is step 2. And you're doing it. Right now she's silently tuned in, not because you're chasing her, but because she feels your absence, and it's louder than any message you could have sent. This is your edge. Don't dull it. If this is hitting a nerve, then you're in the right place. Now's the time to subscribe to the channel, and if you're ready to level up for real, join the Stoic Brotherhood. No games, no gimmicks. Just a private circle of men who live with power, discipline, and direction. Because what happens next in this silent game will say more about you than her. She's watching. But you're building something worth being watched. So stay locked in. The next move she makes might surprise you. And your response. That's where the real shift begins. Number 5. She'll fantasize about your absence. Let's talk about something men don't realize often enough. Your absence has a presence. When you go quiet, when you disappear from her inbox, her feed, her daily rhythm, you don't just vanish, you get replaced by something more powerful. Her imagination. And the longer you stay silent, the more space she gives you in her mind. Not by choice, by instinct. Because here's the thing, silence is the ultimate canvas. And a woman will start to paint stories on it. Stories about you, who you're with, what you're doing, and most importantly, how you feel without her. At first it's just speculation, but then speculation turns into imagery. and imagery that turns into fantasy. She pictures you laughing with someone else. She imagines you dressing better, walking with more confidence. She starts to see you as the man you could have become, and now maybe are. The very absence she once wanted becomes the presence she can't stop thinking about. Here's the irony. She might have ended things. She might have pulled away. She might have thought she didn't need you. But now, in the quiet, your shadow looms larger than you ever did in person. Because now she doesn't have access. She doesn't have closure. She doesn't have confirmation. And in that gap, her mind runs wild. This is what makes absence seductive. When done right, not to manipulate but to reclaim yourself, it becomes magnetic. You don't have to post anything. You don't have to flirt with others. You don't have to make her jealous. You just have to live in truth without broadcasting it. And trust me, she'll build the movie in her head. And in that movie, you're better, stronger, more grounded, more attractive. Let me ask you something. Have you ever missed someone more because they didn't chase you, because they didn't beg, because they didn't explain? It's the same principle. We crave what's calm and confident, not what's desperate. Now let's bring in the Stoic angle. Epictetus said, "It's not things that disturb us, but our view of those things." She's not reacting to your actual absence. She's reacting to how she interprets it. And that interpretation, when you hold your frame, becomes emotionally charged. Her ego wants to believe you're struggling, but her gut starts whispering, "What if he's doing better? What if I lost something real? What if I was just a chapter in his story?" That's when fantasy becomes obsession. And when a woman starts obsessing in silence, she starts looking for ways to validate the story. That's when she checks your socials. That's when she asks mutual friends about you. That's when she re-watches your messages or looks at old photos. But here's the most powerful part. The fantasy is always stronger than reality. Even if she comes back, what she's chasing isn't always you. It's who she thinks you became after her. That's why you don't break the silence. That's why you don't step in to clarify. Let the mystery breathe. Let the distance shape the desire. Because when you don't interrupt the fantasy, she'll start to miss a version of you she created. A version you might already be becoming. So tell me, have you ever fantasized about someone more because they didn't give you closure? If yes, drop this in the comments. I felt the absence. Own it. Because now you're the one creating that impact. You're not chasing, you're becoming. And becoming is what makes absence irresistible. Not because you're trying to hurt her, but because you're focused on healing yourself. So don't rush, don't explain, don't perform. Let her wonder, let her imagine. Let her feel the contrast between what she expected and what she's now experiencing. You've just stepped into a rare kind of power, not the kind that forces anything, but the kind that lingers without trying. You're doing what most men can't. You're letting your silence speak. And trust me, she's listening. She's feeling. And in that stillness, she's fantasizing more than she'll ever admit out loud. You've changed the script. Let's keep going. Number 6. She'll rewrite the story to feel better. Here's a truth most men never see coming. After a woman pulls away and you don't chase, she won't just sit in regret. She'll rewrite the story. Not to be accurate, not to be fair, but to protect herself. See, your silence creates discomfort, and discomfort demands resolution. If she can't get it from you, she'll create it herself through a new version of the story that makes her feel better about how things ended. She'll start saying things like, "He was emotionally unavailable anyway. He just couldn't handle a real woman. We weren't aligned. I was outgrowing him." Sound familiar? This isn't always the truth. It's her defense system. It's her way of regaining emotional leverage after feeling like she lost control. Because you didn't give her closure, you didn't argue, you didn't fall apart. You just stayed silent. And silence leaves a void. That void makes people uncomfortable. And to avoid sitting in that discomfort, she'll fill in the gaps. But here's where it gets interesting. She's not doing it maliciously, she's doing it instinctively. It's a self-protection move, a way to turn a bruise into a badge, a way to avoid facing the real question. Did I misread him? Did I push away someone valuable? Did I ruin something I didn't fully understand? And those questions hurt, so she avoids them by reframing the narrative into something that feels easier to live with. This is why you might hear months later that you were toxic, or you weren't emotionally safe, or you ghosted her, even if none of that is true. Because now in her mind she had to protect herself from you, instead of admitting that maybe, just maybe, you walked away with grace. Let's zoom out for a second. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The opinion of 10,000 men is of no value if none of them know anything about the subject." You are that subject. And the story she's telling, it's not about you. It's about how she's processing the void you left behind. So what do most men do wrong here? They hear the rewritten story and they try to defend themselves. They text, they explain, they argue back. Don't. Because the moment you defend, you validate her version. You confirm that she still controls the story. Instead, do nothing. Let her talk. Let her cope. Let her say whatever helps her sleep. Meanwhile, you focus on the one story that matters, yours. You don't need to win the narrative. You just need to live the truth. Because if her story is built on emotion, yours is built on evolution. And that evolution speaks louder than anything she can say. Now, let me ask you something personal. Have you ever rewritten a story in your own mind just to avoid pain? It's okay. We've all done it. If that's true for you, drop this in the comments. I've rewritten the ending. It's not weakness, it's self-awareness. But now you're on the other side. And when you understand this game, you stop reacting. You stop trying to fix her story. You let her believe what she needs to while you live what's real. This is where a lot of men mature. They realize they don't need to be liked, understood, or even remembered correctly. They just need to move forward in alignment. Because here's the irony. The longer you stay silent, the more her story breaks down. One day she'll remember moments where her version doesn't quite match reality. She'll question things. And when those questions grow louder than her narrative, that's when the truth comes knocking again. But by then, you'll be long past needing validation. You're not trying to change her mind. You're too busy rewriting your future. And trust me, she'll feel the difference. You've stepped into a higher frame now. Don't explain it. Don't defend it. Just live it. There's more to come. And the next stage, it's where her reaction shifts from defense to desperation. Stay with me. Number 7. She'll throw a hook to pull you back. Let's get real. After enough silence, distance, and internal conflict, she's not just going to sit with the uncertainty forever. Eventually, she'll act. But here's the thing, she's not coming back full force. She's not showing up with raw vulnerability. She's going to throw a hook, something subtle, calculated, emotional, designed to pull you back in. It could be as soft as a "Hey stranger," as random as "I had a dream about you," or as direct as "I miss talking to you." But don't let the packaging fool you. These aren't expressions of clarity. These are tests of control, disguised as nostalgia. And if you don't see it for what it is, you'll respond, you'll engage, you'll think this is the beginning of reconnection. It's not. It's the beginning of evaluation. She's not reaching out to rebuild. She's reaching out to see if she still has access. That's what the hook is. A small, emotionally charged message that lures you into response. Once you respond, she observes your tone, your energy, your availability. Are you still the same guy? Are you still eager to win her back? Are you still caught in her orbit? Or have you changed? The trap is this: if you take the bait and lean back in too fast, you erase the power of everything you built in. Silence. And worse, you hand her confirmation that you were never truly grounded. Just patient. Just playing a role. Just waiting. That kills the tension. That kills the respect. So what should you do? First, recognize the hook. Not every message is a lifeline. Sometimes it's bait. Second, pause. Don't react. Don't reply instantly. Let the message breathe. Let her wonder. Let her feel the weight of her decision. Because the longer you hold your frame, the clearer it becomes to her that you're not the same man she left behind. Here's a real example. One man I coached got a message from his ex after 3 months of silence. She wrote, "I walked past that Thai place we used to love. Made me smile." Now he wanted to reply, to say something clever, to spark the old flame. But instead he paused, waited, Saturday with it. Then replied 48 hours later with, "Good food always leaves a mark. That's it." Short, centered, no question, no chase. Her reply, "Wow, you sound different." Boom, because he didn't bite. He didn't swing at the hook. He just floated right past it. And that floating, that's what triggers attraction again. Not in a fake way, not as a tactic, but because she sees something new in him. Emotional control. Let's go stoic for a second. Seneca said, "He who is brave is free." And in this case, bravery means not being afraid of her absence, not rushing to repair it, not fearing the quiet. You're free because you're no longer dancing for attention. You've stopped performing. You've started leading. Now let me ask you this. Have you ever replied too quickly to a breadcrumb, thinking it meant everything was about to shift? If you have dropped this in the comments, I bit the hook. We've all done it. But now you know better. The next time she sends a soft message, let it sit, let it echo. And when, if you respond, do it with calm energy. Don't seek a reaction. Don't dig into the past. Let her feel that you're not trying to get back. You're just living forward. And if the hook doesn't land like it used to, she'll feel the shift. She'll realize you're not a backup plan. You're a new man. You've made it this far. Don't break the frame now. The next move she makes will tell you everything about her intentions. Stay grounded, because now you've got her full attention. Number 8. She'll compare you to every man she meets. Let's talk about what really happens after you disappear from her life. She tells herself she's ready to move on, that she's done with the past, that she's open to something new. So she dates, she flirts, she entertains new energy. But here's the catch she didn't expect. Every man she meets now gets measured against you, not because you were perfect, not because you were flawless, but because you're now a reference point, a baseline, a comparison. And you didn't become that because you stayed. You became that because you walked away with power. See, men who chase, explain, or beg after the silence never become unforgettable. They become a memory, a moment, a phase. But men who pull back and don't break, they become myth, and that myth becomes a mirror. Now every guy who walks into her world gets silently compared to the man who didn't need to stay to be remembered. She meets a guy who compliments her quickly, and she thinks he's too eager. That's not how he used to talk to me. She goes on a date with someone who overshares, and she remembers your calm, your mystery, your emotional discipline. And when that new guy texts too much or too fast, you pop back into her head, not as a craving, but as a standard. That's the power of how you handled the distance. You didn't collapse. You didn't chase. You let the silence speak for you. Now every man after you has to fight your shadow. And here's the thing most of them lose. Because they're not competing with who you were. They're competing with who she imagines you've become. That's the kicker. Her mind has already enhanced the version of you that disappeared. In her head you've evolved. You've gotten sharper, more composed, more rare. So now even when she's trying to move forward, she's haunted by this unshakable thought. What if he really was the one and I didn't realize it until he was gone? That's not just nostalgia. That's comparison regret. She doesn't admit it, of course, not to her friends, not even to herself. But deep down it shows in how unimpressed she becomes with new conversations, in how quickly she loses interest, in how she starts saying things like, "Guys just don't get it anymore. There's no real depth out there. I'm just focusing on myself now." Translation: she hasn't found anyone who made her feel the way you did when you said nothing at all. Let's ground this in Stoic thought for a second. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." And now her thoughts are tied to you. Not by force, not by manipulation, but by the way you handled separation. You showed her something rare, a man with emotional restraint. A man who could leave without bitterness, who didn't need closure to have peace. That kind of man leaves a mark, not because of what he said, but because of what he didn't. And the deeper part, she won't stop comparing, because you've now taken up space in her emotional memory, and that's a space no quick rebound can fill. Now let me flip this to you. Have you ever compared someone new to someone you lost, even if that person wasn't perfect? If so, drop this in the comments. I still measured. Own it. Because that same pattern is playing out now, but you're on the other side. So what should you do? Absolutely nothing. You don't need to compete. You don't need to post better man photos. You don't need to prove a point. You already made your impact. Now every guy she meets is dealing with your silence, your presence, your standard. Let that work for you. Because as her comparisons build, so does your influence. And the next phase, that's where she has to face the one thing she tried to avoid all along. Not that you're gone, but that you might have been irreplaceable. Stay sharp, we're not done. Number 9, she'll feel the loss, but hide it. By now she's felt the shift. She's seen you pull back. She's noticed the silence, the distance, the space you've claimed and kept. But if you're expecting her to admit that it hurts, to reach out with tears in her voice, to say she misses you and regrets it all, that's not how it goes. She feels the loss, but she hides it, not because it's not real, but because showing pain feels like losing power. You see, a woman, especially one who was used to you showing up, explaining yourself, always being emotionally available, doesn't want to look like she needs what she once dismissed. So instead of expression, she chooses image. She'll post photos where she looks unbothered. She'll go out more. She might even date someone new and make it look like she's thriving. That's the performance. But underneath the posts, the stories, the fake laughter, there's a quiet ache. The ache of knowing you're no longer predictable, that you no longer orbit her world, that her influence doesn't pull you back. It's not just that she misses you, it's that she can't understand you anymore. And that confusion, that loss of emotional access, that's where the pain lives. But she won't text you, she won't call you, because doing that would mean exposing what she feels and risking rejection. So she wears a mask. She tells her friends she's fine. She tells herself she's healed. But every night when she scrolls through your feed just to see if you're as silent as you were yesterday, she knows the truth. She lost something. And worse, she chose to lose it. Here's where most guys screw up. They sense this pain. They pick up on the signs, vague posts, delayed reactions, passive-aggressive likes, and they take it as a signal to re-engage. They say, "Hey, I've been thinking about you. Just wondering how you've been. Still here if you ever want to talk." But what they don't realize is this. By reaching out, you relieve her pain and reward her silence. You teach her that she never has to face the consequences of her decisions. That no matter how she acts, you'll come back to patch the wound. That's not strength. That's self-sabotage. The Stoics teach us this. Don't explain your philosophy. Embody it. Epictetus. In other words, don't prove your value through words. Let your actions show who you've become. And right now that means this. Stay still. Stay centered. Let her carry the full weight of what she walked away from. Because here's what happens when she hides the pain long enough. It starts to leak. She'll become colder to new guys, more guarded, harder to impress. She might blame them, but deep down she's just comparing them, and they keep falling short. She might start remembering things she once ignored. Your patience, your depth, your presence. But by then the gap is wider, and she can't cross it without humbling herself. And not every woman has the courage to do that. That's why she hides the loss. Not because it isn't burning, but because admitting it would mean you were right to walk away. Now let me flip this on you. Have you ever tried to pretend you didn't care about losing someone just to protect your pride? If yes, drop this in the comments. I hid it too. Because what you're seeing now is the same move played in reverse. But this time you're not reacting, you're not rescuing, you're not chasing, you're holding your frame. And that's what turns loss into transformation. You're not punishing her, you're just no longer softening the blow. And when she finally sits with it without your presence to numb it, that's when the real clarity hits. Not for you, for her. She'll never say it out loud. But the man who let her feel the weight of her choice, that's the man she remembers. That's the man she replays. And whether she admits it or not, that loss still lingers. You're not done. The next moment will test whether she stays hidden or finally breaks through. Stay with me. Number 10. She'll chase what she thought she controlled. In the beginning, she was confident. She had the upper hand. You were predictable, available, always within emotional reach. She thought she could walk away and come back whenever she wanted. She thought your emotions were hers to manage. She thought the story revolved around her. But now she's not so sure, because you didn't beg. You didn't break. You didn't fold like she expected. You shifted. You disappeared from her emotional radar, and not in a way that screams revenge or games. You went silent with purpose. That silence, it's more powerful than anything you could have said. She begins to realize the man she once controlled now feels out of reach, and that stings, because now she's feeling something she thought she'd never experience with you. Uncertainty. And that uncertainty, it plants a seed of desire. Not because she suddenly sees your worth, but because she's no longer in control of the outcome. This is where the chase begins. It might start slow. She might test the waters alike, a casual message, a mutual friend asking how you're doing. But deep down she's feeling the shift. She used to run the show. Now she's not even sure she still has a ticket. And here's the paradox. She's not chasing you, she's chasing the power she lost. That control she used to hold over your emotions, your actions, your attention. Gone. You stopped playing the game. You stopped dancing for validation. You stopped reacting. And now she can't stand the silence, because in it she sees her reflection, and that reflection tells her the truth. She overplayed her hand. Here's what most men don't get. She might not come back with full vulnerability. She might not apologize. She might not say, "I messed up, number." She'll frame it like curiosity. She'll act like she just wanted to check in. She'll try to resume control without admitting she lost it. But everything in her behavior reveals the truth. She's chasing what she thought was hers to command, and now she's realizing, you were never really hers. She just had access. You let her in, and now you've closed the door, and the lock wasn't loud. It was quiet, subtle, final. That's what makes it powerful. Let's pull in a little stoicism for perspective. Epictetus said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." You've embodied that. You've stopped focusing on her reactions, her decisions, her absence. You've reclaimed your emotional freedom, and that freedom is exactly what now pulls her back. Because what she thought was hers to manipulate now moves independently. And that's irresistible. Let me ask you something directly. Have you ever chased someone not because you wanted them deeply, but because you hated feeling like they got away? If you have, drop this in the comments. I chased control. Own the truth. Because what she's doing now is exactly that. She's not just chasing you. She's chasing back the sense of power she once felt in your presence. And what's wild is this. The more grounded you remain, the more calm you stay, the more she scrambles to pull you back into orbit. But you've evolved. You're not responding out of emotion anymore. You're responding out of principle. If you choose to engage, it's not to reclaim her, it's to remain in control of yourself. That's the game now. She chased comfort, control, and certainty. And when she lost it, she realized the man she thought she could walk away from was never really waiting. You became a storm she couldn't predict, a silence she couldn't fill, a presence she couldn't explain. And that's what draws her back, not out of love always, but out of longing for the command she once took for granted. You flipped the frame. And now, whether she admits it or not, she's chasing. And if you're still here right now, you already know this wasn't just another video. This was a mirror. And maybe for the first time you're starting to see yourself differently, not as the one being left behind, but as the man who finally stopped chasing what was never his to control. If you got value from this, hit subscribe, not just for more content, but to join a space that speaks directly to you. And if you're ready to go deeper, to access exclusive videos, breakdowns, and mindset tools most men never get, join the Stoic Brotherhood. It's not for everyone, but if it's for you, you'll know the second you step inside. Thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow.